Good morning, everyone. If you are here for the town hall, please take a seat so we can get started. I am very happy to welcome the Reverend Dr. Robert Phillips, who is joining us today to talk about our transition process and how that has changed since the last time we called a rector. So I am going to hand it over to you to get started.
Oh, thank you, Joanne, and thank you, Reverend Gerhard, for extending an invitation to me to come and to share with you all on this day. This has been such a special worship experience for me. From the time that I pulled up in front of the church, the bagpipes were playing, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, you all have taken the whole experience of St. Patrick's Day to another level. And so I am so grateful to be here with you on today. So with that being said, let me share a couple of thoughts, ideas with you as we think about moving into the next space. One, I want to paint a picture. You've heard about this transition model and how things have changed since the last time that you went through the search experience, and it has. And there have been some reasons that we've had to kind of shift some things around. One of those reasons has been because of availability of clergy. It's not a surprise. People retire, and people go on up to glory to see God, okay? So that happens as well. And so as a result of that, the landscape, we had to take a look at the landscape in its totality. So availability of clergy was one piece, and also availability of financial resources. Not all of our parishes have the financial resources that they need in order to do the things that God is calling them to do. All right, there are various reasons for that we don't need to go into for right now. But the reality is that we do have that thing that we have to work with, acknowledging the reality that the availability of clergy is not as great as it used to be, and also the fact that our financial resources are not as full and as lucrative as they used to be. Currently in the diocese, there are 35 parishes that are in active transition. And when I say active transition, what that means is these are parishes that have either an interim rector, a priest in charge, or supply. And the bulk of those parishes that are using supply, I shouldn't say the bulk, but the bulk of them have been using supply for quite some time. So the good news, though, is that even in the midst of all of these realities, there is energy. There's energy that's out there in order to provide for the spiritual nurture and development for our parishes in the diocese. And the truth of the matter as well is that the Diocese of Washington is not the only diocese going through some of these realities. As I speak to other transition officers across the country, we're all saying the same thing. But here again, the good news is that the energy is out there to try something new. So as a result of these things that I just lifted up, we can't do business the way that we used to. So we want to be able to do something new and exciting, just like the energy that I experienced here in connecting to Ireland. Okay? That was new and exciting. You'll probably hear about you all in some of my future presentations. Okay, I'll give you attribution all over the place. I promise that I will. So in this new model, if you will, the new model seeks to accomplish my 3 S's. S's. The first one is to simplify the process. The reason for that is because, for whatever reason, there have always been some confusions, if you will, with respect to the roles and responsibilities of a search committee and of a vestry. And because of that blurring of understandings, no matter how many times you break that down, it seems like it's just a real difficult thing to get across for whatever reason. That's not the case in all situations, but it has happened quite a bit. So this particular model, it seeks to provide for some very clearly defined tasks and roles and responsibilities for everyone involved in the search process. So it seeks to simplify the process. My second S is for streamlining the process. Heretofore, there's been a front loading, if you will, of desires and requests for the identity of the rector that you want to call. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. This process seeks to front end all of this with the identity of you. Who are you? As I engage in conversation with potential priests that are interested in coming here, I will ask them not only to talk about their qualifications, but I need them to talk about their skill set too. Do they have the skills that will enable them to meet St. Patrick's where St. Patrick's is, wherever that is? Who are you? Your identity. Your identity. And I'll share this with you. One of my favorite theologians is the late Reverend Professor Peter Gomes. You all heard of Peter Gomes? I see some heads nodding. Okay. So several years ago, when he wrote his book, The Scandalous Gospel of Jesus, he did a book signing at Politics and Prose on Connecticut Avenue. You may have been there. And so one of the things that he talked about there was that, there are some expectations that are out there that are just they're not real. They're not real. And so he used the WWJD, that what would Jesus do? Mnemonic, to give an example, to illustrate his point about how, you got to keep your expectations in the right perspective. And he said, and I'm going to try to channel him as best I can, that, as far as that WWJD, that what would Jesus do stuff, I would like for you all to all bring down to the chancel the baseball caps, the scarves, all of the paraphernalia for WWJD, and I want you to bring it to the chancel so that I might burn it. And everyone there was aghast because that was the hot topic back then, WWJD. And so he said, the reason that I want to do that is because it's not about what would Jesus do. You're not Jesus. When was the last time you walked on water? When was the last time you raised the dead to life? When was the last time you made the blind to see, the lame to walk? You're not Jesus. The message is, what would Jesus require of you? What would Jesus require of you? And that speaks very nicely into the whole topic of identity. Jesus knows who you are. You know who you are. So let's make sure that we have everything in sync as far as when we express our identity in both our beauty and our challenges, so that we have a very clear understanding of who we are. So this enables the process to be streamlined because we know what we're going to focus upon. And the last piece is with respect to my last S is shortening the process. It shortens the process. As the search process is going to be conducted by the vestry. There will not be a separate search committee. It will be conducted by the vestry because the vestry is going to be that governing structure that actually calls the next rector. Now, I'm not leaving the vestry comfortless, if you will. There are going to be some teams that have been identified and staffed, if you will, at the diocese that will walk alongside the vestry as they are going through this search experience, this search process. But the whole process is going to be shortened because it's going to focus upon the vestry leading the process going through. And the major point that I want to make about that is all of that search process work will be done leaning heavily upon everyone under the sound of my voice. And for those of you all on Zoom, that you can see me too, all right? For all parishioners, it only works if input is provided from everyone. So, what does that look like? Well, as I said beforehand, there have been 3 diocesan teams that have been established. There's a financial review team, which is headed up by Canon Andrew Walter, our canon to the ordinary, and he has X amount of team members on his team. There will be a parish vitality assessment team established, which will have X amount of team members. That's headed up by Canon Anne-Marie Jeffrey, who is our new canon for congregational vitality. And then there will be a third team, the OTM Parish Profile, OTM standing for Office of Transition Ministry, Parish Profile team, headed up by me. okay? And I have team members that will be on those teams as well. So what will happen is that as each one of those major deliverables are being developed, there will be a person from each one of those teams assigned to the vestry to walk step by step with the vestry until those particular deliverables are created, are developed. So again, the vestry will not be comfortless, throughout the whole process. Now, what does that look like specifically? There are X amount of steps in this particular process. And so as far as the scheduling of clergy, I'm going to let Joanne speak about that in a minute. The next step, you can check this box, is that the transition officer comes and meets with the vestry, which I've done, and the transition officer comes and meets with the parishioners for a town hall. So you're 2 boxes down already. Okay? You're 2 boxes down already. The next step is the financial review. And the financial review has 3 prongs, P-R-O-N-G-S, 3 prongs. The first prong is, can you pay your bills? Quite simply, can you pay your bills? What's your income? What are your expenses? Can you pay your bills? The second prong is the establishment of a compensation package for the priest that you're going to call. You know, how much money do you have to put in that whole compensation package? What will the cash amount look like? What about housing allowance, SECA, pension, life insurance, continuing ed, all of that? So it will be a detailed breakdown of what you'll be able to offer the incoming rector. And the third prong is a detailed job description. A detailed job description. And the reason that I'm including that is because I think it's proven to be a good exercise to detail all of the expectations that you have for your incoming rector and place that alongside the compensation package that you're going to offer her or him and see if they're in sync. Some of the parishes that I've worked with in the past have been very surprised in that, oh my God, you have 35 pages worth of expectations and you're going to pay them 10.5. And you're calling it a full-time gig. That gives me a pause, okay? So it does happen. I'm sure it won't happen here at St. Patrick's, but it does happen. The other reason, I want you to be able to double dip whenever you can. Having a detailed job description with those detailed bullet points, later on when you begin to interview applicants, you can extrapolate each one of those detailed bullet points into an interview question, thus ensuring that you've covered all of the territory for expectations that you have for your rector. So it gives you a chance to double dip. The next piece is the parish vitality assessment. The parish vitality assessment, the PVA, was birthed out of one of the 3 subject areas that were discussed and adopted at the Diocesan Convention back in 2020. Those 3 subject areas included revitalization, formation, and justice. Revitalization, formation, and justice. And the parish vitality assessment was birthed out of the revitalization subject area. In the parish vitality assessment, it does just that. It gives you an opportunity to assess how vital your parish is using 7 vital signs. And those include, does your parish have a compelling mission and vision? Do you have a clear path of discipleship? Do you have faithful financial practices? Do you have inspiring and capable leadership? Do you have welcoming and connecting ministries? Do you have uplifting and inviting worship? And do you bless your community? Those are the 7 vital signs. And so in this experience, in this search process, the vestry will engage you in conversation about where do you think we are in that? On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think St. Patrick's is? Where do you think they are? We are. So the 7 vital signs. The next step is a website review, a very high-level website review, in that you're going to look at your website and you're going to try to ensure that that which you have in your website has been discussed or reflected upon, touched on in your parish vitality assessment, and vice versa. That which you have discussed in your parish vitality assessment, does it have a home in your website? And so where there are inconsistencies along the way, you'll just tag those. This is not a time to do a major reconstruction of your website. No. I told you one of my S's was to shorten, right? So it is a time, though, to just tag those inconsistencies so that at another point in time, you can come back and do the appropriate construction for it. That's your website review. The next step is your OTM, Office of Transition Ministry, Parish Profile. And in the OTM Parish Profile, there are 11 narrative questions that are lifted up that sometimes give a further drill down on some of the things that you have discussed in your Parish Vitality Assessment. All right, to give you some examples, just a few of them. One of them is, describe a moment in your worshiping community's recent ministry that you recognize as one of success and fulfillment. Quite simply, you can use today, okay? Okay? Describe your liturgical style and practice. If your community provides more than one type of worship service, please describe all. How do you practice incorporating others in ministry? Again, double dip. You got Ireland coming in here, so how do you engage in pastoral care for those beyond your worshiping community? How are you preparing yourself for the church of the future? What is your practice of stewardship, and how does it shape the life of your worshiping community? Just to give you a flavoring of some of those questions that you, all parishioners, will be engaged in responding to. It's the OTM Parish Profile. The last step is what I'm calling the Next Steps Team Meeting. The Next Steps Team Meeting. What's going to happen there is that the vestry, along with any clergy that are currently on the staff at that time, will come together with the transition officer, the three facilitators of those documents, those deliverables that I lifted up, the financial review, the OTM Parish Profile, and the Parish Vitality Assessment, and your regional dean. Did you know you had a regional dean? Okay, well, you do. You have a regional dean. Your dean is the Reverend Dana Corselli, who is the vicar/rector at National Cathedral, all right? And the reason that I'm including the regional deans in this discussion as far as next steps are concerned is because it gives opportunities as the totality of the identity of St. Patrick's is lifted up for the dean to say, you know what? As my deans are my boots on the ground for all that which is happening in their region, there may be a time when the regional dean says, you know, St. Patrick's is really, y'all have a real passion for the homeless ministry, for example. You have a real passion for that. Well, there's another parish in your region that has a similar passion about that. So let's connect the two of you all so that you can do some collaborative ministries and see what something new might come out of bringing people together. So that's the reason that the regional dean is included in the Next Steps team. So the Next Steps team will get together and talk about what have we found out about St. Patrick's and its identity with respect to finances, its vitality, its parish profile, all of that. And then make a recommendation, which will be, well, probably, let's upload our OTM parish profile in its totality. Let's load it up on the database, and let's start receiving applications, okay? There are other options there, if you will, but that's what you're all gonna do, all right? Trust and believe that you all will be in such a place that you'll be ready to just start uploading. So, as far as timelines are concerned for that, I'll share that with you. Your financial review takes anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. Financial review, 1 to 2 weeks. Parish Vitality Assessment, 6 to 8 weeks. Website review, just 1 week, because again, it's just a high-level website review. OTM Parish Profile, 4 to 6 weeks. Shorter than the Parish Vitality Assessment because, again, you'll be able to double dip a little bit because you will have touched on some of those points earlier. And the Next Steps team meeting, 1 to 2 weeks. And I extended that to the 2 weeks only because of scheduling challenges in getting people together. So all total, in looking at the time when you begin your financial review until the time that the Next Steps team meets, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Substantially shorter than the amount of time it has been in the past to do search processes. 3 to 6 months. All right, so everybody breathe. There you go. Do I have a minute to take questions? Okay, so any questions that you have before I turn it over to Joanne? Okay, wonderful, thank you. Here's one.
So for everyone to participate in these assessments, are there going to be surveys that go out online? Like how does that happen?
That happens In consultation with between the vestry and the team member from that particular grouping, if you will, then they will decide upon the instrument, the most appropriate and effective instrument to use to gather that. It could be a survey, could be small groups, could be a combination of the two.
Okay, and then this may have been answered before, but do we get rectors during this 6-month period?
You will have clergy to come and to take care of your sacramental and your pastoral care needs. And I'm going to put a comma there. I think Joanne's going to speak with it a little bit. Yeah. I want to stay in my lane. Okay. Stay in my lane. It's okay. Yeah.
No, I'm curious, as you interview various candidates, is the congregation of this church at all, are they offered up? Can we read resumes? Can we, do they come and practice, give a sermon or something? Are we aware of it? Because I don't remember any of that happening with Kurt. Maybe it did and I was just tuned out.
Okay.
But, I just remember Kurt was presented as our next rector and done deal. I'm just curious whether we get involved at all.
Here's the poop on that, and poop is a theological term. Okay? Let's poop on that. What's going to happen is that the vestry will receive the applications from the priest. And upon receiving the applications, the vestry will contact me, Joanne, will contact me to do what is known as a red flag check. That's what I talked about, the qualifications step, to do a red flag check. The red flag check looks like this. I want to know, as I speak, if it's a priest from outside of the Diocese of Washington, I'm going to contact their transition officer in their diocese and have a conversation with them about that particular priest. Specifically, I'm going to ask about, has this priest been involved in a dissolution experience? Has this priest been involved in a Title III behavior unbecoming to a priest? Has this priest been involved in a Title IV, which is even deeper behavior unbecoming to a priest? All right? I want to know about that. I also want to know about my 3 C's of character, competency, and chemistry. Tell me about this priest's character. Are they pleasant to be around? Or do they come off as being kind of shady? All right? Because I've had some yeses from time to time, like, yeah, he or she is a priest, but kind of shady about that. And also about competency, like if I ask the priest a question, a basic question about the Book of Common Prayer, would she or he be able to answer it? Or no. And sometimes I get strange responses for that too. And lastly, about chemistry. Chemistry. What kind of energy does this priest have? What kind of energy does this priest have? So, and then I want to know, and how involved has this priest been in your diocese? One time I called a transition officer and I said, I want to do a red flag check on, on this particular priest. And her response was, now who was that again now? I said, oh my, I said, end of conversation. End of conversation. So the vestry is going to be, I'm going to do red flag checks based upon the applications that I receive from the vestry. The vestry will be actively interviewing the candidates along the way. And then they'll make a selection as far as who's going to be called. So the vestry is empowered to do that.
So the answer to my question is no, the congregation will not be involved in any of this. You will be doing the red flag check.
Correct.
The vestry will be interviewing the candidates, and that candidate that they choose will be presented to the congregation.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
So once you put together the full job description, is that shared publicly with everyone to see?
Of course, yes. In fact, very, very good question. What will happen is that once we get to the point where we're going to upload all of the information to the database, the national database, really anybody who has access to the internet will be able to access your profile. Okay, once that happens, it's going to go up on that database. It's going to go up on what is known as the TMC, Transition Ministry Conference database, which all of the transition officers use. It's going to go up on ENS, the Episcopal News Service, and it will be posted on the diocesan website, edow.org. So you get, in addition to wherever else you all want to place it, in Facebook, social media, etc. Yeah, and along the way, the vestry will be providing various pieces of information as far as where they are in the process. They won't go down into any specifics with respect to who they're talking to, but as far as where they are along in the process, which may include the job description too.
Thank you. And then how does our partnership with the day school alter the process, if at all, or is it just kind of interwoven in all of the steps you described?
It's going to be interwoven. The degree to which that's going to look is going to be conversations with vestry. I am got that badminton thing, like in the birdie to you. But it will be included. It has to be included to be here. Yes?
I kind of forgot my question, but I think I was going to ask. I think I was going to ask you about who gets the information of where we are along the way. Is it you, or is you referred to that as things go along the way? It's reported. Is it reported by Joanne and the vestry?
By the vestry. Well, to me and to you.
Oh, okay.
And to you, yeah.
That's what I thought.
All righty. Well, knowing that the only thing standing between you and your lunch is probably me and or Joanne, I'm going to wrap it up for right now. Oh, goodness.
Don't go away.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Robert. That's extremely helpful. And of course, I have prepared notes, which may not be relevant right now. So I do want to follow up on a few things. So first, the question that was asked about whether or not parishioners will be involved in actually like reviewing and resumes and looking at their sermons and having that kind of in-depth involvement. It's a no for that, but you are so critical to this process. We really need your engagement. Whether we have surveys, whether we have in-person conversations, we need you to show up. We won't do a good job collecting and synthesizing and creating a good image of who we are as a parish unless we hear from you. So I am going to ask you repeatedly, I'm going to nag you very kindly to show up because we need your voice. And for any of the kids who are listening either now or at home, parents of children, teenagers, it's not just adults. We need their voices too. We want to have a very holistic process of input so that we can make the best decision that we can based on the information we have, right? So if we're missing information, then we can only do what we can do. But we will do the best job that we can. We will do all that we can to represent all of your input, who we are today, who we want to be in the future, and taking into account the day school, because the day school is a very important ministry of this church. Now, there's a few things that are happening that you may not be aware of related to that. We've been in conversation with the board chair, with various members of the board of the day school, and working very hard to ensure that we make a very good choice to be a partner with Jolene when she comes on board as the new head of school. So our intent is to develop a very strong relationship that will grow over time and lead to the success of both parts of our institution, the school and the church. So in terms of our day-to-day, it is possible that we'll have an interim rector, but for right now, we are going to have supply clergy, and we have them scheduled from the Sunday after Kurt leaves through the end of September, potentially longer. We have identified people to do that. Next month, particularly when you think about Holy Week and all of our special celebrations, we are fully covered. We have, this is when my notes would be helpful. Just a minute. The Reverend Yolanda Roll is going to be joining us in April and May. And Easter Sunday, the Reverend Randy Wilkinson will preach, and Father Ed will preside from the day school. So we have identified a priest who will join the Bible Babes, but she will not be available until early July. So she will be able to be part of the Bible discussions as well as lead the healing service. And she will also actually later be showing up for Sundays as well. Now, Father Ed, Lisa, they will both be here through this transition. I did have one question about whether Father Ed would be joining us as our new rector, and the answer is no. He has a full-time job. He is at the day school, and we are so delighted to have him there and joining us 2 Sundays a month, which is what he does for us. Lisa will continue with us as well. Both she and Ed will be taking time off during the summer as their school years wind down. So they will take a time, to break to do other things, to see families, to travel, etc. But they will be joining us again later as they return, probably mid-August or late August. Laura Nada, our fabulous seminarian, who we all love so much. We wish that she could stay with us for a very long time. However, she has been told by her diocese that she will be moving into a new role with a different church as her education progresses, so that she gains different experience than she has gained here at St. Patrick's. We don't know exactly when her last day will be. We hope she will be with us through the end of June, but whatever, that will be made available. That'll come to light soon. We'll figure that out as we go. Okay. So we're set with clergy for the next several months. If an opportunity comes up for an interim, then we will let you know. For pastoral need, following Kurt's last day with us, if you have a need for pastoral care, please contact either me, the church office, Mary Beth, or the pastoral care team. We'll have more details about how that process is going to continue to work once in the next couple weeks, but we'll let you know more about that then. So, as Robert artfully laid out for us, we have a lot of work ahead of us. The vestry is already working very hard to ensure that we present ourselves in the best possible light. We are very confident. We're blessed to be in a really strong position. Kurt has done incredible work over his 12 years here with us, and we are in very strong financial position, but we also have a wonderful, welcoming community. We are a vibrant church. We have a number of ministries in which we're engaged. We're confident that we will have a number of applications locally and nationally, and that we will be able to have a very thoughtful and efficient process, and hopefully call a new rector by the end of the year. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going on the record. Okay, so I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. So, questions? Thank you. We have a question in the back. Hold on, she's going to bring you a mic. Wait.
With
No.
34 other parishes in somewhat similar circumstances and maybe ahead of us in this process, and suddenly our profile and all around it appears within their visions, the potential rectors for these other 34 parishes. How appropriate is it to expect any or all of them to reevaluate their own position in light of what they've learned?
I'm going to let you speak to that.
One thing, St. Patrick's is, you're in a space all into yourself, okay? So I think there's not going to be any issue with respect to the number of applications that you all will receive. As far as the perception, the understanding, as far as some of the other parishes are not going to make it. They're just not going to make it. They don't have the finances to make it. They're not viable at this point in time. They may have a little bit of vitality, but they're not viable. So that's why the Next Steps team is such an integral part of this new model, if you will, because it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all at all. It's going to be a different experience for many different parishes. For you all, my gut, just as Joanne put out there, before the end of the year, I'm right with you. I'm right with you on that. The traditional way of uploading your information to the database will be the way you all will probably go, as opposed to any other creative types of things. That's as creative as you'll need to be. Upload and go. All right? I see a hand behind you and also here.
Joanne, I think it might be helpful if the vestry members stood up, just so if you all don't know who's on the vestry and you have concerns or thoughts or opinions, Yep, so we're all. And we want to work with you.
I'm sorry?
And we want to work with you.
Yes, most definitely, and thank you, Melanie. Great idea. If you are unaware of who is on the vestry, particularly for anyone online who is watching this now or later, you can check it out on our website. If you go to the website and look for our team, we are listed there, and there's a way to contact us through that. There's a question in the back.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I just want to know if it's standard practice for the vestry members to actually, go to the church home of the candidates and see these, the priests who would like to come here, see them with their own congregation. And in the age of Zoom, I would think that it's, relatively easy to do. I don't know. But I think that's one way to get a feel for the chemistry of that candidate with his or her congregation, and also just to hear a sermon, I think would be helpful.
Oh yes, definitely. And I know that that was part of the process in the last discernment process. Vestry members traveled to different churches. They heard the clergyman or woman speak and preach and interact and all of that. So yes, Zoom makes that part so much easier. We can hear generally lots of sermons, and that may actually be part of our application process. Please submit 2 of your favorite sermons and let us know why they're your favorite. And then I don't know, maybe at some point it would be a process of, all right, for these candidates, we're going to go see them in their church home and see how they interact with their parish. One more question over here.
Just because they won't say it themselves, but the support needs to go to our staff members too. It's a difficult
Yes.
thing to take.
Thank you, Karen. So yes,
Thank you.
you reminded me of a very important thing that I forgot to say. So while we are not calling an interim, while we have supply, our staff will be working harder. Our vestry will be working harder. In Kurt's absence, in the absence of a rector, the senior warden leads the church. So I will be doing all of the administrative functions that he would normally do. So for Sundays, the vestry person of the day, whoever that is, will be showing up early to help get things set up. And we are accessible. If you have questions, just reach out to one of us and we will do that. It also reminded me of one of the unique things about us and the day school. Having a church and a day school means that the rector's position it has a lot of administrative function with it. It's different than a more, I wouldn't say typical, but a church without a day school. They focus on different things. We have a very different kind of role because we have a day school. So we'll be taking that into account as we're developing the position and as we're looking for candidates, because we want to make sure that they understand what that is and that we as a congregation fully understand what that means, what we need from our rector for them to be a success.
Is there a possibility to extra pay for the extra work that the staff is doing?
So the question, if you couldn't hear it, is there a possibility of extra pay for the staff during this period of time? And the answer is always yes. And the bishop has made a request, which the vestry has approved, for an extra week of vacation for all of our staff, given the extraordinary level of work that they have been doing during the pandemic to make this be seamless, basically. So that has been approved. We will make sure that they take it. I'm looking at you, Adele. We can be very creative, Adele. But while I'm on the topic of Adele, was that joint service nothing short of miraculous? Thank you.
I'm just glad it worked.
It would not have happened without your ingenuity, your perseverance, and just your sheer determination and grit. You are awesome, and we are so lucky to have you here.
Thank you. And they
And-
did their part. They came online.
Oh, they did. They were
right
awesome.
on time. It was
They
perfect.
were awesome. It was great. It was so much fun to have it actually work to be live and go back and forth. Thank you for that. And thank you for Mary Beth for all that you are doing. And as it was pointed out earlier, the Instagram account for St. Patrick's is live. It didn't just happen today. It's got great content, and Mary Beth is really killing it. So please go, sign up, follow, share. All right, any other questions about our transition or where we are today or anything? Well, I don't know. We'll have to ask Adele.
Now we know how to do it.
We do know how to do it now, so it is something that I think both parishes would like to continue in terms of at least continuing our friendship, so that would be one way that we could do that. But if you haven't done it, pick up your pedometer. We are walking them back to Northern Ireland, so you need to start tracking your steps or your miles, and we'll meet them at the end somehow. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying. Thank you for your great questions. Thank you, Rob. Oh, Robert's got one more thing.
Just one last thing. I want to leave you with another sense of hope, if you will. Truth of the matter is that in the midst of a transition, you can get kind of anxious, kind of confusing, got questions. Makes total sense. Here's the hope. Here's the hope. And it goes back to my favorite professor, Peter Gomes. He says there's a difference between optimism and hope. Optimism is a picture that